And when the doctor, because, these neurosurgeons have no bedside manner, they came out of the surgery and said to me, I wish I didn't come to work today.
Welcome to the Strokecast. A Generation X stroke survivor explores rehab, recovery, the frontiers of neuroscience, and how to peel a banana with one hand.
Hello, I'm Bill Monroe, and welcome to episode 130 of the Strokecast. Today's episode is sponsored by Modus Nova. To see if the Modus hand or Modus foot can help you recover after stroke, visit strokecast.com/Modus Nova. Today, let's talk about bras. I know, it's like totally my area of expertise, right? Isn't that what you come to Bill Monroe for, is for all your information about bras? Well, fortunately, my guest today is former IT project manager turned lingerie entrepreneur Rachel Whittaker. Rachel founded her company, BraEasy, after her daughter, Jamie Lee, survived a stroke at age 9. Rachel wanted to make it easy for her daughter and for women and folks around the world to put on and take off a bra with the use of just one hand. She joins us today to talk about her journey, her daughter's amazing story, and the one-handed bra. So now, let's meet Rachel. So Rachel, thanks so much for joining us on Strokecast. This has been a long time in the making.
I've been so looking forward to talking to you, Bill.
Let's get right to the core question, which is something completely outside my realm of existence. What is BraEasy?
So BraEasy is an adaptive lingerie company that was designed by myself in Australia. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. My name is Rachel. We designed this company. It was born, I must say, out of our journey with my daughter, Jamie Lee. So Jamie Lee, when she was 9 years old, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So she had a oligodendroglioma is what the brain tumor is called. So out of all of the children, so 1% of kids get brain tumors, and out of the 1% of that 1%, they get the brain tumor that Jamie had, which is referred to as an adult brain tumor.
So she was really advanced for her age.
That's one way to look at it. So when she was, when they said we could either operate or she wouldn't really last the next probably 8 months. And so we talked to Jamie, and it's a really big decision for a 9-year-old to have to make. Do you want to have brain surgery, possibly die on the table, or just give up and in 8 months' time you'll pass away anyway? So Jamie said, no, I want to give it a try. So, yeah, very trepidous. It was the most awful time in all of our lives, and something that we will all never forget. Jamie was in an induced coma for 10 days straight after the surgery. And when the doctor, because, these neurosurgeons have no bedside manner, they came out of the surgery and said to me, I wish I didn't come to work today. That was his first words out of his mouth. This is after 16 hours of surgery with multiple teams. He said she had a deep brain stroke whilst when we took the tumour off, one of her arteries bled substantially, so we had to close it off. So now out of the 3 major arteries you have in your head, she's got 2 working ones, and she probably will wake up as a vegetable. That was pretty tough to hear. But I was super confident that whatever happened and however she woke up, that we would just work it out. We'll just make it happen, and it will be the best that it can be. So after 10 days, she was in an induced coma, so she didn't move because there was so much swelling from the surgery. And when she woke up, the first thing I got was attitude out of her eyes, because she had tubes down her throat, with her hand going up as it questioning why is this in my mouth kind of signs. And I knew from that point we were fine. We were going to be fine. So she had to learn to walk and talk, eat, because her tongue wasn't really working the way that she expected. when the speech pathologist was working with her in hospital, Jamie was reading the words on the card, and the speech pathologist didn't realise. She thought she was just reading, working out what the picture was. So we knew that her cognitive ability was there. She was signing in bed when she had the nasal gastric tube and stuff. She didn't really want to speak, but my ex-husband's parents were both deaf, so we all learnt sign language very early on, and the kids all learnt that as well. And so she would sign to me in bed, and the nurses thought that she was actually mute. But she wasn't. She was just, she didn't want to talk. She didn't like the way that her tongue felt. So we were really shifty, and we bought her a mobile phone. And then we would go home and ring her because then she would have to speak.
Right.
So that was a really good one. But yeah, when she was, it took 5 years to get through. She had chemotherapy. The chemotherapy didn't work. It just made her bleed out of her pores of her skin, which was awful.
Oh.
So then they gave her radiotherapy in a new machine in Peter MacCallum in the city, which is one the major radiotherapy clinics. And that was successful after 6.5 weeks everyday treatment, which was pretty full on. They said they could never give her any more radiotherapy than what she's already had, or she'd forget how to breathe. So she's had the maximum. But we haven't had any sign of any cancer coming back, and she's now 21.
Well, that is fantastic. How did they find the tumor to begin with, or how did they know to look for a tumor?
So her primary school teacher actually rang us up one day and said Jamie was sitting in class and she seemed to look to the side and freeze for a second or two, enough that the teacher noticed, and she just thought that she should give us a call and just explain that seemed odd for Jamie. So we took her to a child doctor, a paediatrician, and she said, this is the awful part, this is the year before. She said that Jamie seemed to be having anxiety attacks or panic attacks, and so we should take her to a child psychologist. So we took her to a child psychologist, and after 8 months of visits to that psychologist, the psychologist said, and then Jamie progressively was having more and more of these episodes, which would then get to a point where she'd vomit and couldn't speak, and then her speech would come back. And the whole time she was having these, what they thought panic attacks, she would look at you and you could tell that she was there, but she had no control over what her body was doing. So as she progressively got worse over these 8 months, I ended up taking time off work and Googling the hell out of her symptoms, and came to the result that she either had a brain tumour or she was suffering from juvenile epilepsy. So I took her back to the doctor and I said, I want her physically checked. They did, it was an ECG where you're not allowed to sleep for the 24 hours before. So she had that, and that showed some signs of things not working right in her brain. They then sent us for, that was like that night, 8 o'clock at night, for an MRI, and, yeah, we never left hospital after that. So it was an awful, time.
Yeah.
She got down to 25 kilos. She kept losing weight because of the vomiting from all the number of seizures that she was having. But the doctors couldn't work out. She had no residual effects. And it works out it was the tumour.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's a true testament to that you and her and your family, that you got through that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that then you were able to take that experience, from tumor to life-threatening surgery to coma, through stroke, through rehab, to then find a new problem, which was as she grows up and starts to develop, traditional lingerie not working well for her.
So she has left side hemiplegia, and so she's only got one hand that's really functioning. Her left side is very, they talk about a lot of spasticity, they call it, in her hand. And so she was having Botox every year to try and release the muscles or the tendons and all of that sort of thing. But really she doesn't have a whole lot of function of that hand. And so when she was 15, that's when I realised, well, kind of getting to that age, you probably need to get a bra. And I looked everywhere for years. I looked everywhere. I went to, I even started to search for people who had patents for a bra that was at least you'd be able to put on with one hand, and none of those people were successful in being able to manufacture what they designed. And so when we were younger, it was always, very tight, so we all got taught how to sew. So I figured, well, how hard could this be? I'm just gonna have a crack at this myself.
Many of my biggest failures have begun with the phrase, how hard could it be?
Correct. The first couple of designs were pretty awful, but then we started to get something that was super functional, and my other daughter would also test it out. And the funny thing that my other daughter said is, Mum, this could be a good stripper bra. And I said, why is that? And she said, because look, you can just open both sides at once. I thought, oh no. So she thinks that we've missed a whole target market here, but it's not who I invented.
Next year's line.
So David's mum also, at the time, I think she was in her mid to late 80s, and she'd fallen over and had a frozen shoulder and arthritis in her hands, so they weren't working so well anymore. And so I said to her, well, I'll make you one of these as well, and you can be a tester. So she was like, okay, well, I'll try that. And she loved it, absolutely loved it. She said it's the easiest thing she'd ever had, with a frozen shoulder and with all her arthritis in her hands. It was a simple thing for her to be able to do up, whereas Jamie can't do buttons easily at all. Some of the magnetic buttons you see on clothing these days are amazing. But, so I had the two of them testing it out, and we were all really happy with the design. One of the things that I did see was there is a Buckingham dressing angel, which is this horse collar contraption that you're supposed to put around your neck that holds one side of the bra, and then you can put the other side attached to it. Doesn't look comfortable. It looks really awkward. And I was like, but she should be able to just go to the shop and buy a bra off the rack that's going to suit her functionality. And that was the big gap, I felt, that if you ever have a broken arm, frozen shoulder, you've had a stroke like Jamie had, what were you supposed to wear? And none of us really want to go out without a bra on, because that's really not looked, it's looked down on, unless you're, 20 and they're perky, and it's probably a bit too much information, to be honest. But,
it all depends on how comfortable you are.
Correct. That's probably a better way to put it. So, I just felt like there was this really big gap, and I'm thinking, well, if I don't make this, who else will? I can make just a couple and Jamie would be happy forever. But it doesn't solve the problem for all the women out there who are like Jamie, that have had a stroke, that need something that's easy to put on, that makes them feel beautiful and comfortable. It's been a journey, that's for sure.
Well, I think that touches on one of those sort of recurring themes we talk about, in that as you discovered as you've gone through this process, folks with arthritis, folks with frozen shoulder, folks who may have just sprained or broken an arm and maybe temporarily disabled, can absolutely get some benefit. As your other daughter pointed out, the whole stripper aspect to it. I mean, the whole idea is that accessible design is usually just good design.
Yes, I 100% agree. And that's what we try and talk about in the clubhouse room is I try and educate the fashion designers, because I'm on a mission now, right? Educate the fashion designers that are coming up to think about their closures and make them more inclusive and accessible to everybody.
So how are the closures on your product differ from standard closures?
Well, normally you would do a bra up at the front or the back. They're the only two options, or the other one where you pull over your head and it's like sliding into a sausage skin. It's not, that doesn't work, trust me. So I have patented side closures, which are Velcro. Took me 8 months to find this Velcro. Because my other big worry was people would have a wardrobe malfunction, and I don't want to ever be blamed for that.
Right.
It's also got boning in the back of the bra, so it actually holds the back in a position so you don't have to reach behind you, which also benefits women who are in a wheelchair because you no longer have these hooks and eyes and big gatherings of closures right behind your back when you're sitting in a wheelchair. So that's part of, we were trying to think, well, where's all the different situations that somebody would need this to be different? And the closures are on both sides, the left and the right, so you don't have to buy a left-sided one or a right-sided one, because if you've got arthritis, sometimes it can go from one side to the other. And so to make it a more user-friendly garment, that's why I decided to put the openings on both sides. So you pick which one works for you on that day.
Right. And when you want to sort of push yourself as part of your own therapy, you can always try the harder side too.
Yeah. Well, it's still not hard even on the side that you couldn't use. If you were, like in Jamie's case, if she got better use of her hand, she only needs 2 fingers to be able to undo it. So if you've got a thumb and you can just push it against the finger, that sometimes is enough that you could open either side.
So that definitely makes it a heck of a lot more convenient then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like it's such a simple idea. It seems like or not simple. It seems like an obvious idea that somebody should have come around with, but nobody ever did, and nobody ever brought it to market until you did. Yeah. So, I mean, how did you go from sort of sewing them at home to having a product that you can market around the world?
So I went to because again, I'm not in fashion, that's not my background. I went to a company called Fashion Equipped in Australia who helps fashion business. It's a fashion business startup coaching kind of business. And she was able to connect me with somebody who could help me source a manufacturer in China, because I tried for a couple of years to get someone in Australia to make it. Doesn't seem to be any manufacturing for clothing going on here. Everyone outsources to China, it seems. And so I got a design that I really liked. I wanted to make it really simple. It needed to be pretty. It needed to be something that if you went into a shop, it would look like every other bra, because what I didn't want it to look like is that's obviously a piece of clothing for somebody with a disability. It shouldn't be that. It doesn't have to be that. And so I've invented something that does look like every other bra from the front. And that actually became a challenge at one stage. Someone said to me on social media, "What's so different about your bra?" And I'm like, well, yeah, from the visual, it probably doesn't look any different. But that was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to find a manufacturer in China. It took them, I think it was 6 months to get it right, because the engineering in it is so specific about how it should be on the person. I wasn't going to make any allowances for any alteration on the functionality. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we got it down. I went to China in December of 19 and did the quality check, rejected one whole colour of it. They'd done the wrong strapping, it was too stretchy, and then had to wait another 6 months for the whole lot to be finished and brought back to Australia. So we got product in June 20, and that's when we launched. So we've still just got the one product. We're working on our second one now. The differences between the two, we've got about 4 designs that we're working on, but I say we, but it's just me working on the designs because hubby's not really that right into the whole bra thing. And I explain it to men this way because this is the only way they can understand, I think. Men are either jocks or boxer short wearers. You're one or the other, right? And that's what you stick to. Women are either lace cup or foam cup bra wearers. So at this point, we've only got half the equation. We've got the lace cups, which you might say are jocks, and we're waiting for the boxers to come in.
That makes a lot of sense. I understand that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
No, that just adds that other wrinkle too, that then you manage to get to China and get back to Australia just in time for the world to close.
Correct.
Correct. And I understand Australia had some pretty serious lockdowns early on.
Yeah, well, we were in Melbourne. We were locked down for 111 days for the first round.
And you were still able to then have product come in and get it to market during the summer, or I guess during the winter.
Yep. So the product arrived from the ship. The little man dropped all the boxes off in my garage. I waited for him to walk away, and then I brought them all in. And so my dining room is just covered with all of these big tubs of bras because we've got quite a few. But we've made in excess of $10,000 of sales in our first 6 months, and the feedback has just been amazing. People love it. They say they've got their independence back, that it's been life-changing. We get these emails and we all get teary when we read them because they're just so beautiful, and that we know that we've impacted someone's life and made it better, not in a negative way.
Right. And that's something just so basic and so fundamental. And you're doing all of it. And you're doing this then out of your home. You're not just sort of designing it and then doing it all electronically from there. All the product is coming into your home. And when somebody buys one, you or your husband or Jamie or her sister, you're boxing stuff up and shipping it off from there.
That's right. Hubby's the one that drives down to the post office and drops all the boxes off, and we do everything.
Well, that's amazing. And you're shipping around the world?
Yep. We've sold the Netherlands. We've made a lot of sales to the US. We've made a lot of sales in Australia. One of the things I need to explain to you, there's a thing called NDIS, and it's the National Disability Insurance Scheme. It's how people who have a disability in Australia get benefits and support from the government.
And I should just hold off there for a moment for anyone listening in the United States. When you hear the word scheme in the United States, it invariably means it's something nefarious. Elsewhere in the world, scheme just means a plan. It doesn't mean anything bad or anything negative. I first learned that dealing with some folks I was working with on a project in India. But yeah, scheme does not have the negative connotation elsewhere in the world that it does in the U.S.
No, it's actually government that's doing it. So it's their, I don't know, why they called it scheme, but it's the National Disability Insurance Scheme. So the government supports people with disabilities through what they call NDIS plans. And so Jamie will go to a plan manager and tell them, I want or I need these things to help me in my everyday. I need these things as goals that I've set for myself to improve my life. And so that could be physio appointments, OT appointments. She's got a number of other appointments that she goes to as well. Having someone from a government perspective support her to take her shopping, so she can go with a support person who will drive her around and help her do her shopping, take her anywhere she wants to go. Sometimes she just wants to go to the beach and sit on the beach. And so she can organise to have a support person take her there and do that. And the government provides all the funding for that. So part of that is if you have stated in your plan that you want to live, to be able to dress independently, then you're eligible in your plan to get a bra or as many bras as you want from us. So we are a National Disability Insurance Scheme registered provider. So we went through a lot of work to make sure that we were able to work with people with disabilities, can follow all of the guidelines that we need to do. And, yeah, we've sold thousands.
That is fantastic. I've one of the first two podcasts I found after my stroke, about stroke, was the Enable Me show, which comes out of the National Stroke Association in Australia. And I've been really impressed by what the Australian government does for stroke survivors. It's not something we quite see in the United States and in many other places. It seems like Australia has been really forward-thinking in trying to take care of stroke survivors.
And what we were thinking as a business is, when we've gotten to a point where we can start to give away some of our product. At the moment, everyone's a champion because we're still trying to start up, but go to the stroke departments in the different hospitals here and give people who have had their first stroke, especially, and because people have multiples, give them their first bra that we know is going to suit them. So we're looking to do sort of donating to different stroke departments at different hospitals all around Australia. Very passionate about that.
That's great. Again, one of the things I know very little about in these details, but I do know that sizing is often a challenge, whether it's from getting, with the stats showing something like upwards of 2/3 of women are wearing the wrong size bra, and start getting to some real specialty stuff here. So, I mean, how is sizing and how is your variety of sizing?
So we've got a limited range at the moment because I couldn't afford to pay any more.
There's only so much room in your dining room.
Well, yeah, there was that. And, hubby sits amongst the boxes. That's his workspace. We went to a couple of experts who said these are the biggest selling sizes that we can suggest to you to have as part of your first order. And so they're the ones that we got in. The next order we've got coming with the foam form cup, so your boxes, will be in the sizes we don't have currently. So that way it gives you the sizes for the entire range, or with the two different types of bras, but at least it gives you something to start off with to see if you like it.
Right. So are you now more heavily into larger sizes or smaller sizes, or?
It's not the sizes, it's the cups.
Okay.
So, you might be a size 12, but you'd be A, B, C, D, double D, E, those sorts of things. So when we got the original stock in, we got Ds, double Ds across most of the sizes from a 12 to a 22, but we weren't able to get the ABCs.
Gotcha.
We got some Cs in, so we need to go back and get ABCs in 10s, so from a size 10 all the way through to a 28, it'll be ABCs.
So that when you say size, like size 10 through upwards of 28, are those analogous to like dress sizes, or are those band sizes, or?
They're band sizes, yeah.
Okay. So presumably in metric, as opposed to, I know a lot of the US would be more in that 32 through upwards of 40 or whatever.
46. Yeah.
Whatever, something, because we are very backwards in how we measure anything.
Oh, I think we all are. And that's why my website has both the centimetres and the inches.
Fantastic. So
you can flick between the tabs.
So just head on over to the website and check it out to see if they see if your size is one that is currently available.
Yeah.
So one of the other things, talking about sizes, then one of the things that is apparent in a lot of your social media advertising is that it appears a lot of the models are not what many of us would think of as traditionally sized underwear models.
That's right.
So, I mean, how did you select the models you use for your photo shoots and in your marketing?
So consider, you have to think about the timing, right? COVID happened. So we were organising 2 photo shoots. We had one of my beautiful ladies who are on there currently who are all people that I was talking to. Kaylee, the lady with the limb difference, is a friend of my nephew. And the lady in the wheelchair, Al, she was somebody that I met on Instagram, and we actually went to her workspace that she owns and helped her paint her building because somebody had graffitied it.
Ooh.
Ex-Paralympian, and also Elizabeth Wright, who's written about us a number of times, Australian ex-Paralympian. So I think it's just the community that I'm involved in, and I love to hear women's stories about the challenges that they have, because I just think that it's such an opportunity to make it something better, and then it benefits all women. So in my head, it's just like inclusive means everybody, not just one side or the other. So when I spoke to Al and Kaylee and the other young lady, I said, this is like the product shoot, and then we're going to have another, flat fancy one where we'll get some more models in as well. But then COVID hit and we couldn't go anywhere. Nobody could go and do any sort of photography anywhere. The city of Melbourne locked down for, months and months and months. So then my beautiful lady who helps me with my social media for the BraEasy Facebook and Instagram, she's a photographer and a social media expert. She volunteered to model herself because we just can't get models because we're all in lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the lovely lady with the red hair. She's my social media lady that helps me with the Facebook posts. I did it for a very long time, but as I said before, I'm in IT, the social media thing and the photography thing. The videos in the early days are all just Jamie and I in my little study, which I'm talking to you right now, with a video camera and me trying to edit the hell out of it to make it at least look a little bit professional. But I just submit that, that's not my thing.
And I think that's one of the things too. You learn working in IT very, very quickly that, you don't try and build code or reconfigure a network or on software and hardware that is completely outside your expertise. You may be able to do some basic stuff, but you got to bring in the experts who actually know that stuff.
That's it. So we did that. We got an expert in, and they did it all during COVID with the video for the product itself. So we had to send the product up to Richmond, and they were all working from their homes. So the Richmond office then sent it to the gentleman who then had to shoot the whole thing in his garage.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too, is that it sounds like the folks you have modeling then they're well, for lack of a better term, they're real people. They're not necessarily career models.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, Al has 2 businesses that she runs, that she started herself. Kaylee's a uni student. That's why my nephew knows her, and they've been friends for a few years. And then Nikki is the only one that she's an actress, but we hired her through a website to get another model. So she's the only one that I didn't know personally, but she was the one that was most excited about the bra when we did the modelling. It was quite funny.
Awesome. So then, I mean, like you say, you've got your social media manager is one of your models.
Yeah.
And how has COVID and the final arrival of the product, how has those all been informing the strategy around your social media campaigns?
It's been challenging for my social media lady's name's Kira, for Kira to find people who would be okay, because even because COVID we were so in lockdown here, she couldn't even approach anybody. Like, you weren't allowed to go more than 5 Ks from your house, even when you were allowed out. You were only allowed to go out to go to the shop or to a medical appointment. We were really restricted in how far we could travel. And so from getting anyone, it's who's in your 5K radius that would be comfortable with, even doing something like this. And that's not a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I really look forward to when, everything's opening up again now a little bit, that we can actually have a photo shoot, what that's going to look like, and that will really help what we can put out on our social media. So we're kind of restricted, but I don't think we're any different to anyone else.
Right.
I see a lot of stuff being regurgitated from years ago by other brands, And I get it because they don't have a choice.
Right. And you can pull up stuff from previous years when you're targeting a younger audience who may not have seen it before.
Yeah, definitely. But we're always trying to think of something new and funky and fun, and it shouldn't be boring and doty. But then you've got to be really careful too. We're restricted on Facebook because you can't advertise a woman in a bra on a Facebook ad. You can if they're on a bikini on a beach, because that's classified as lifestyle, but I can't send out an image of a woman in a bra, and Facebook won't allow that ad to be placed like that.
That then kind of feeds into some of the stuff you've been doing with Instagram, which isn't even a lot of strictly about promoting your products, but about highlighting other women with disabilities.
Yeah, because I think we're all a community, and it's about us as women supporting each other. And there's some beautiful ladies out there with great stories, and why can't we share that? And so we talk to them and ask them if that's okay. Kira spends time every time to make sure that everyone's okay with doing that. We wouldn't share things that people weren't happy for us to do. That's not how we roll. Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting.
If somebody else has an idea for what they want to do for designing an item of accessible clothing, what would you recommend they do? Or what advice do you have for folks who want to pursue more accessible clothing or design?
There's a few probably key things that I would make sure. One, our product is classified as innovative because of the engineering that's inside the bra. It's not something that it looks simple, but it's made to look simple. It's actually not simple at all. And so our patent is a 20-year patent on this style. So we can do lots of different varieties or variations of it, but it's still our patent. When it comes to other clothing, it's more a design patent if you wanted to go down that way. And so you wouldn't show other people your design patent until you actually had registered that. So it depends on how much you want to invest, I guess. Some people, they design clothing and they put it out there, and then immediately it's copied by someone else if it gets popular, because they see that you've just done the testing for them, and they're going to go and copy it and sell, hundreds of thousands more than you can even compete with.
And it's entirely possible then they're even using the very same assembly lines that you're using offshore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you've got to think about who your market is. A lot of people now, and this is recent in the fashion discussions in Clubhouse that I've been talking to some of the women, there's a big push to have custom-made clothing, and that's not fast consumer goods. That's actually really slow consumer goods. But I think it actually speaks to the market when you say, yes, that this is a nice jacket, but look at all of the accessible features that it has on it. You could retrofit a lot of the existing clothing, make a small change. If you got it at a wholesale price, you could have quite a good business. So that's another option. If you wanted to purely design, then I'd suggest to go to, and YouTube is amazing too. I'll just put it out there for learning how to do things. But there's a whole process that you need to go through to have anything manufactured en masse, offshore or onshore. And so you need to be able to learn how to do that. And my best suggestion would be to get in contact with a business like Fashion Equipped, who could set you on the right path and make sure you have the tools to be successful with what you're trying to attempt to do. The hardest part really has been, you can design the best thing, but if you've got no one to launch it to, and that takes so much time, it can't be the best kept secret. It's just not going to sell. So that is a big investment in time. Yeah, I would go to a Fashion Equipped, I think, because there's things like tech packs, and they go and count the number of stitches, and each size has a different number of lengths of different fabrics. So it's quite complicated. It's highly achievable, but it's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I really thought about it when I decided to make this for everybody. about how much of my time and investment of our own funds, like we don't have investors or anything like that. We're all self-funded. Yeah, how much time it actually takes. I've worked for 7 days a week for years and years and years now, and that's my rhythm. But I would one day like to have like maybe half a day off. That would be great.
Well, I think when you talk about the time investment, like say you got your first shipment of sellable product in the summer of 2020, I know we have been talking back and forth on social for a couple of years now. And I imagine even before that. So, I mean, when did you sort of start the company or start the BraEasy Twitter handle?
I think it was 2017.
2017. So it was upwards of 3 years before you had you had a product you could actually sell.
Yeah. Yep.
So
because I need to understand the community. So there was that my Twitter followers aren't great, but I've got to. I haven't I'm not there to get followers. I'm there to engage and talk to people. And so I've got a really good connection on Twitter with all of the audience in the UK. And they have an amazing philosophy on how they deal with disability in the UK. They're very staunch supporters of accessibility in change rooms or on sidewalks or going into venues. So they really speak out. They're very passionate about supporting other people with disabilities. So I think that community really speaks to me as far as I think they've got the right heart, because I think that everybody should have equal opportunity. So that's the Twitter guys that I speak to. And a couple of them, one of the guys is an author, his daughter, Emily White, and Paul, no, I can't remember his name now, mental blank. He's written a comic book that shows people in wheelchairs and people with disabilities. So amazing work. So really, really good.
That's fantastic. And it's amazing. And it's really fantastic to see that they can do that in the UK because, I mean, unlike the situation we have in the US and that you have in Melbourne, is that they've got cities that are hundreds of years old with this old infrastructure and old buildings that, certainly weren't built with accessibility in mind or modern lifestyle. No. I mean, all of the stuff that in our countries is, obviously much more recent and still struggling with accessibility concerns.
Yeah. And Jamie and I are always looking around when we go into different places. It could be it's a big decision for us if it doesn't really have accessibility easily. Like they might not even have a ramp or anything up the front. It's highly likely that there's going to be lots of stairs. Mm-hmm. And if she's feeling a bit tired, no, we're not going in there. We'll go pick somewhere else that's going to be easier for us.
Right. Even something as simple as, do you have the handrail on both sides of the stairs or just on one?
Yeah.
That makes such a big difference.
Yeah, she doesn't want to always have to be holding my arm when we have to swap sides going down some stairs. Mm-hmm. She wants her independence. She's 21. She don't want to be standing next to her mother. Good grief.
Exactly.
I'm not cool, just saying.
When I started going downstairs, the only way I could go downstairs with a handle on only one side of the stairwell was to actually go down the stairs backwards. My PTs were like, well, it works and you seem safe, so sure, do it.
Oh, scary.
And that brings us to our hack of the week. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor, Modus Nova. The Modus Hand and Modus Foot devices are home therapy devices. To teach the brain to use an affected limb after stroke takes time, takes work, and takes lots of repetitions. The Modus Hand and Modus Foot help you get those repetitions in and make it fun in the process. You get to play games and keep track of your score. And, while I'm playing those games, I like to listen to podcasts and in order to make the time go even faster as I am getting my workout in and getting my exercise done. You see, visits with a PT or an OT are great and so important. But if you're only seeing them once or twice a week, your progress will be much slower. With Modus Nova, you can get those reps in between visits to recover faster. To learn more and see if the Modus Nova solution is right for you, visit strokecast.com/Modus Nova and use the promo code STROKECAST for 10% off your first month. And now back to our hack of the week.
Jamie's biggest tool that she likes to use every day and all day is her mobile phone for reminders. So she suffers, because of the radiotherapy, she suffers short-term memory loss. And so it takes a long time for something to become a habit to get into her head as a reminder. So for lots of things, she has alerts on her mobile phone, remember to do this, or, to start to try and change her daily routine. That's her biggest tool that she uses every day. I don't know where she'd be. The times when she's forgotten to plug the thing in and it's run out of power, that's typically the days that go very pear-shaped around here.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. That's such an important tool, and you combine that with the camera for taking pictures of things you need to remember and things you need to follow up on. It's a really powerful thing.
She's taught me all of these extra tricks on it that you can do on notes, and how you can have like buttons and then you're ticking the buttons as you're going down. So she can actually track where she's up to with an activity.
Well, that's great. So if folks want to place an order for one of the bras,
BraEasy.com. So BraEasy is actually one word. And we called it BraEasy because we thought that described the product perfectly. It is easy, and it's easy on and easy off, and even the guys can take it off with two fingers, just saying.
Whether it's on their partner or they happen to be wearing it themselves, either way.
Yeah, well, you pick. So the men should be going and buying them for their partners, and like, here's something that's going to work for you. And if you're in Australia, we can do the NDIS quotes. So that's then we fill in the details, send that to the plan managers. When the payment's made, we send the product off and everyone's pretty happy. Happens pretty quickly too, usually within 4 days. So I don't think it's that efficient in the States, is it?
It really depends on so much, but no, it's not.
Yeah. But I'd also love if any of your listeners would be interested in modelling our bras and going on one of our social media posts. Yeah, definitely contact us at sales@BraEasy.com. Yeah, we'll have a chat about what can we do and where we can feature you. Love that. What do you think, Bill? What size build do you reckon that you'd be?
I think, let's see. I've been doubling down on my quarantine hamburgers, so I'm.
Oh yeah, I'm go the COVID kilos.
I'm probably rocking that 40D at this point, but.
Okay. And we call, when men have boobs, we call them moobs.
Yes. Exactly. So Rachel, this has been fantastic. I'm so glad we could connect. Definitely anybody who's interested in modeling for BraEasy, we'll have those links over in the show notes. Definitely check that out. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and definitely be sure to give Jamie my best.
I will, of course. Thank you so much, Bill.
It took Rachel and I a couple of years to connect, but I'm glad we did. I mean, this is a story that had a horrible beginning that many of us can relate to, at least a little bit. And fortunately, Jamie survived. Now in her 20s, she continues to recover. Along the way, her mom found a way to solve a problem that Jamie and other one-handed bra wearers around the world struggle with, and she came up with a solution. And then Rachel leveraged her project management skills to scale that solution to one that can benefit folks beyond her family. She's partnered with the NDIS in Australia to reach more folks, and now she's selling these bras from her website at BraEasy.com. And of course, Rachel is also looking for folks to model the product for social media. If you might be interested in that, just go ahead and email sales@BraEasy.com, or be sure to check out the show notes because I'm going to have that link in the show notes over at strokecast.com as well. See, I am also impressed by the level of service that the Australian NDIS provides to people with disabilities. Everything I hear about it from folks is just positive. I mean, we really don't have anything similar in the US, and the services that we do have are highly constrained and often they're just plain unreliable. I'm sure the NDIS has its issues too, but it certainly sounds fantastic compared to what we have in the US. So if you don't have full use of two hands, or, as Jamie's sister suggests, you're a stripper, and you're looking for a bra you can put on and take off yourself, head on over to BraEasy.com to check it out and pick up a few. If you'd like to model the BraEasy bra online, reach out to sales@BraEasy.com, or again, just head on over to strokecast.com/BraEasy for all those links. Don't forget to subscribe to the free Strokecast newsletter launching this summer if you haven't already signed up for it. And of course, as always, don't get best, get better. Thanks a lot. I'm Bill Monroe, and I'll talk to you soon.
The Strokecast, Bill Monroe, and Bill's guests provide general information and entertainment, not medical advice. Please do not make any changes to your treatment plan or the execution of your treatment plan without first consulting your personal doctor or medical team. The Strokecast is a proud production of the Currently Speaking Podcast Network.